Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Zach with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. Our weekly show with Chris the Entertainah. We're doing Rondale Moore today, guys. Amazing athlete out of Purdue. The guy is just an absolute freak on the field, and I'm so excited to dive into his film. But before we jump into everything, Chris, how you doing, my friend?
I appreciate you guys having me on, man. My voice is killing me a little bit, so if I sound a little funky this video, I apologize. But this is a prospect I'm really excited about. Rondale Moore, he's a versatile player. They play him at the running back spot. He's rumored to be running a 4.2. To me, this is like if the Giants go defense round one, or maybe they take a tackle, if they take anything but like a playmaker round one, this is an ideal guy that could potentially, maybe not likely, fall in our laps there in the second round. If not, maybe a trade down candidate. If we trade down from say 11 to 20, the mid 20s, this is a guy that could definitely bring spark to an offense. So I'm excited to jump into it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anthony, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. My voice is also a little bit messed up because I'm still dealing with that head cold. But I think that the trade down, I'm a huge proponent of trading down in the first round of the draft for the Giants specifically. I would really like to see them get down into that mid-20s range, as you just mentioned, Chris, and maybe draft a guy like Rondale Moore or even Rashad Bateman. There's a few wide receivers that are going to be falling towards the back end of the first round. And it's really just because this wide receiver class is so loaded with talent. A guy like Rashad Bateman or Rondale Moore realistically would be wide receiver one in their draft classes if they weren't in this draft class. Put them in another year's draft class. Not in the last year's either. Last year's was also loaded.
Yeah.
But, take maybe 2 years ago, Rashad Bateman's probably wide receiver one there. Rondale Moore, you can make the argument as well. So it's just a really talented and loaded with talent wide receiver class. So, these guys that we're discussing, we may be discussing them as a round two prospects, but they're really round one prospects.
Yeah, that's exactly right. With a guy like Rondale Moore, he's a freak athlete. Maybe some would say a generational athlete. The problem is the injuries because, he is so strong and he runs like he's Refrigerator Perry. He runs like a big running back with so much power, but he's not big. He's 5'9", 175 pounds. On the film, you're going to see some unbelievable plays. You're going to see him running through people, unbelievable center of gravity, some really, really crisp route running and just agility like you've never seen before. And then you're going to look at his injury history and say, okay, like I get it. I get why he's always injured. He only played 3 games last year and 4 games 2019. His last healthy season was 2018 when he had 13 games, 114 receptions, 1,258 yards and 12 touchdowns, 14 total touchdowns. The guy had an unbelievable year, but playing 7 games in 2 years is nothing to write home about. It does bring up some serious concerns of longevity and just ability to stay healthy. And at the NFL level, it doesn't get easier. So we're going to have to talk about a few things that he does on the football field that if he translates to the NFL, they're going to get him injured more. He's going to be hurt sometimes, and he needs to play more like Tyreek Hill and less like a bruising running back if he wants to stay healthy and really be a factor in the NFL. So that's something I'm excited to check out in his film, but nonetheless, the plays are ridiculous. So I'm really excited to jump right into the film, guys. So the first video here is him jumping, and you can see he's looking up here like that is double my height. That if you stacked him on top of each other, you still wouldn't reach the top of that. And you're going to see him jump so freaking high that it's almost like he shouldn't, a person of his size, 5'9", should not be able to jump that high. And it just shows you the explosiveness this guy has with his legs. It's just ridiculous.
Oh my God. Yeah.
I actually did see that clip. That was a 42-inch vertical, which is like Michael Jordan-esque. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, he touches that too. Like right here, right there. Look how high off the ground he is.
42 inches. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, he is literally 3.5 feet off the ground.
Yep, and he's doing this from a standstill. He's not running and jumping. He's not getting up a head start. He is from the ground, planted, jumping straight vertically. So we're talking about a guy, and Chris mentioned this before. He's looking at 4.2 speed. That's what they're expecting him, 4.2, 4.3 type of speed. And athleticism like you've never seen before. Like just a guy, he has Saquon Barkley-like traits, but he's a receiver. That's the best comparison I can make to a guy like this. He's Tyreek Hill, but a bruising running back at the same time, the way he runs. And you're going to see in the film, in the next clip, it's just stupendous as well. It's ridiculous. So this is him. He's squatting 600. 5'9", he's 175 pounds. He doesn't look like a big guy. He's squatting 600 pounds.
I got to work out with this guy.
I mean, look at his legs. His legs aren't like anything huge. They're not like Saquon's like calves, but this guy is benching and he's squatting 600 pounds, man.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely going to be the type of prospect, especially if we had a combine, you know, which we're not going to have this year. You'll have the pro days. He's definitely the type of prospect that could potentially soar up draft charts if he has a really impressive workout, because all you really need to do is wow one team. You see it all the time in the draft. So, you know, and maybe not. DK Metcalf had a crazy combine, and he didn't go up as high as some people thought. But he is the type of guy that could surprise on draft night and maybe go a lot higher than people are projecting because of his physical attributes.
He's gonna go higher than people think, because he just, I mean, you can't teach this type of stuff. You know what I mean? Like you can't teach this type of athleticism. You can't teach this type of speed. You can't teach this type of jumping ability, route running. It's all instinctual. You can't teach this power that he has within his legs. And you're going to see he completely bulldozes people over. And he's not a big guy. Remember, he's 175 pounds. I'm 155. He's only 20 pounds heavier than me, and I'm not a big person at all. And he's squatting 600 pounds. Like, take a second to realize most offensive linemen aren't squatting 600 pounds. And he's doing it. So before we dive into these clips, I do want to make one little thing known. I watched a video of him yesterday, and he's breaking down some of his, you know, his favorite routes and the way he likes to run them. His favorite route is the slant, basic slant, but it's how he runs it that makes it so unique. He projected 3 different ways he runs a slant route to beat coverage, whether it's off ball. If it's off ball, he can easily just, you know, slant in and cut in, and he has so much speed and athleticism, they're never going to be able to stop him. So they're usually trying to jam him up in man coverage. They're trying to get their hands on him. They're trying to do that. So what he does is he runs right at the cornerback, and he uses that power he has in his legs to disengage. He crosses the face of him, crosses the face of the quarterback, and then he jolts into the slant route. And you see it, you're going to see a variety of different slants throughout this video. And the cornerbacks look like they're seeing ghosts out there. Like, he's so quick and so fast, they have no idea what's coming. Look at this. I mean, what are you going to do to stop that? He's gone. Talk about a guy that creates separation.
And that's exactly what we need, you know, in this offense. You know, he's not ideal because of his height. Some people are going to be scared of because of that, and more so the injury history. But in terms of being able to get a quick burst off the line of scrimmage and get that quick separation, he probably does that as well as anybody in this year's draft.
Oh, yeah. Incredible.
Well, when you talk about separation, that's the number one thing that you look for in a wide receiver prospect. I go on about this all the time. Alex knows this. I'm sure you've even heard me say some stuff about this before, Chris. When you look at wide receiver prospects, there's like 2 archetypes. You find the guys who are big and strong and can make those 50-50 balls, and you find those guys who maybe aren't that imposing, but they get open and they, you know, separate and they run routes efficiently. And those are the ones that usually pan out more frequently than the other ones. You know, the guys who route run and separate through their route running, those are the guys who find more NFL success. So when you look at a guy like Rondale Moore, you know, of course, he's not huge, he's not tall, he's not physically imposing, but he's quick and he's got a lot of speed, and it creates separation. He runs good routes. And that's why I think that he will go higher in the draft than a lot of people expect. I definitely think he's going to be a late first-round prospect, even though people think he's going to drop to round 2. I don't think so. I don't think he makes it that far, because somebody's going to look at the way that he runs routes and they're going to say, okay, instantly we can inject him into an offense and make him a focal point.
You can design a scheme around him. That's the thing when it comes to Rondale Moore. I mean, just look what kind of, you'll see here, just insane amount of ability in the open field.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Like, this is just
a kick return. Yeah.
a glimpse of what he can do. You know, you're going to see it over and over again. So I'll go back so you can see that one more time. The guy in the open field is one of the best prospects I've seen, just being able to make guys miss. I mean, here, he can stop on a dime with his strong legs. He plants those feet so well, and he makes guys miss. I mean, you're not going to take him down with one arm. You're not going to be able to take him down with 2 arms. If he's getting hit, it's a 1v1 matchup and a tackler's trying to get him. 75% of the time, he's going to break the tackle. That's just how good he is. His center of gravity, he's 5'9", it actually benefits him. He's 5'9", he has such strong center of gravity that you can't bring him down. And even when he gets hit really hard, which you'll see later on in the video, he still stays up and he keeps going. Like the guy, I mean, nobody can tackle that. I mean, that guy, that cornerback, look at him. He has no idea. He literally just saw a ghost. He's like, I'm going to rock this man. Look at him. Right here, he's squared up. He's like, I'm going to drill him. I'm running at him. And look at him. He's lowering his shoulder. Right here, that's impact. You know, like most players are getting hit right there. Darius Slayton is getting nailed right here. But no, he's so shifty. And the one thing I've noticed with Rondale Moore that he's so good at, he's very talented when it comes to dipping his shoulder and avoiding tacklers that way. Like he uses his shoulders very, very well. He squeezes his body together. He gets really slim and slender, and then he avoids tackles like this so easily. He dips those shoulders. And if that guy doesn't come on him, he has to jump on his back and bear hug him to take him down. I mean, you can't take a guy like this down if he's looking at you in the face and you let him make a move on you. There's no way you're catching him.
The best way I could describe, him, he's basically, and he does play running back too in college. He's basically a running back that plays wide receiver with his ability to make guys miss in the open field. And he's kind of like Barkley. Not that he's Barkley's a freak, but he's like Barkley in the sense that he's always capable of busting that big play, and he kind of looks like a running back in the way that he maneuvers after he catches the ball.
Well, he's definitely a home run hitter. And when you think about if you were to inject this guy into the Giants offense and you had Saquon Barkley and Rondale Moore, 2 home run hitters, now you're talking about being the New York Yankees. You just got everybody out there. It's crushing balls and hitting bombs, right? Like you got 2 guys that instantly, as soon as they touch the ball, you have to worry about the fact that they're going to take it 60 yards to the house.
You could make the argument Evan Ingram's that guy too. You can make the argument that
when he catches the ball.
When he catches the ball, he's capable of doing very, very impressive things in the open field. Again, catching the ball is a little hard for him as a receiving tight end. So, but I love this clip because, like I said before, he takes a big hit right here. He takes a nice lick, but you can see what he does. He protects his body. The second he catches this ball, he puts his eyes up. He lowers his center of gravity. He braces for impact. He plants those massive thighs in the ground, and he absorbs that hit. He absorbs that hit so well right here. And look at him. From that angle, it looks like his knee is down, but obviously it's not because he takes this to the house for a touchdown. But he takes this hit, man. He takes this hit, and at that angle, any player, their knee is hitting the ground. But he somehow manages to take that hit in stride, use that weight of the quarterback to actually stand back up, and he's basically just deadlifting this corner on top of him right now. And this is what happens when you have a player like this. Those 3 defenders right there, they're looking at that hit like he's going down. Like we don't even have to worry about it. But instead, he takes this ball. He takes that hit. The 3 defenders give up. That guy, number 21 right here, is literally just like not even going after him anymore. He's like, he's going down. Instead, see, he stops running. And then suddenly he's gone off to the races, and this is a touchdown. Like this is the type of playmaking ability, like Anthony mentioned, that Saquon Barkley has. If you have 2 guys like that on your team, there's no excuse for not being able to score points routinely. You know what I mean?
Well, it's the plays like this that I look at Rondale Moore and I say he reminds me a lot of Tyreek Hill. Like actually more than Jalen Waddle. Like Jalen Waddle, I feel like is more dynamic and is more of like a prototypical outside wide receiver than Rondale Moore is. Rondale Moore is just kind of like, once he gets the ball in his hands, look at what he can do. He's just faster than everybody. He makes everybody miss. I just see so much Tyreek Hill in his game. And Tyreek Hill has really started the new wave of wide receivers. Like that's the new trend that teams are trying to find, the next Tyreek Hill. And I really think that a team is going to fall in love with Rondale Moore because they're going to say that is the next Tyreek Hill. I actually wouldn't be shocked if the Chiefs looked at Rondale Moore and said, that is the next Tyreek Hill. Let's have 2 Tyreek Hills and then draft him at the end of the
If they drafted this guy with Tyreek Hill and Pat Mahomes throwing footballs with Travis Kelce.
It's not fair. It's not fair.
Please don't do that. Please don't do that.
The NFL should not let that happen.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what we got going here. Just nice. Just wanted to show off some of his route running, but also his yards after catch. I mean, that was another angle of the one earlier. So you see this on a bigger ski.
I was going to say, it looked like the same play where he made the 2 guys miss.
Yeah. I actually don't think it's the same play.
It's just
it's the same play. It's the same play.
Okay, yeah. So it's the same play. It's against Ohio State, I believe. Yeah, and this is a nice little out route. I mean, it's a good route concept. That corner is playing so off ball. It's unbelievable. I don't really understand the coverage at all. In fact,
the coverage
I think they were playing no safeties deep, so they were scared they were going to beat him up. He was going to run past them up the seam, so they were just playing off ball. They were trying to blitz and get after the quarterback early, but you're just not getting. You can't give him that much space, and then you're going to just
fast on those speed outs, because when you run out breaking routes or in breaking routes, there's two ways to do it, right? You can break down at the top of the stem and then cut, or you can just speed out it or speed in it, depending if you're going in or out. So you just take one step in. This is just a quick speed out, and it's very fast. There's a lot of speed. With the shorter guys like the Tyreek Hills, like the Rondale Moores, they usually don't break down and then cut out. They just do that speed out because you can't keep up with them. They have so much change of direction, such an ability to change and cut on a dime that they can do those speed outs, and it'll be just as efficient as if they did break down at the top of the stem and break out. So those are the two ways to run those routes. And the thing is, when he really just runs it one way, but it's just as efficient as running it either way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty impressive. And the thing is, if you're going to give him this much space, it's not him catching it here. It's not the yards that they automatically gave up. It's the yards that they give up after the catch, because he's so talented after the catch and making people miss and kicking up extra yards. That's where you have to be worried about him. Anyone can catch that little speed out with nobody in coverage. Anyone can do that, but it's what he does after the catch where he picks up another 10 to 15 yards just from making people miss.
Yeah, I mean, he kind of reminds me of a much faster pre-Giants Golden Tate.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually.
That's what Golden Tate was. He was a great yak guy. He was a guy with a low center of gravity, a guy that fought off tacklers. He's much more athletic, but he kind of reminds me a little bit of him, actually, in the way that he could be utilized in the NFL.
Talking about separation here, he's being held at the stem of this route. Right there, he's being held. I mean, he burns his assignment so badly, just so badly, that he has no choice but to hold him, because he thinks he's getting beat up the seams. This is a go. This is basically a touchdown if he doesn't hold him here. But what he doesn't know is this was never a go route. This is actually another out route, a deep out route, it seems. Or maybe it was a decision by him, the quarterback.
Looks like a comeback route.
Yeah. But he got held so much, he just spins around. It's really impressive to see how he disengages at the top. And even after being held, he just spins that guy around. I mean, look how much separation he creates right here.
Well, what I want to point out here, if you go back to the beginning of the play, when he runs this route, if you watch this, and you'll see here, he gets held, but you see him trying to get back on that original line. He's trying to stack at the top of the route. And that's really what creates the separation, because he gets held, so he gets pushed one way, but he's still fighting to get back this way. So the cornerback is also fighting to get back this way. So then when he just goes this way and then turns it back that way, he's got the quarterback beat. It's the stack on this route. When he starts to stack the quarterback here, that's when he beats him, especially on those comeback routes. If you do stack the cornerback on a comeback and you make them think that you're going to beat them over top on a go, that's when you can really just turn around and go against the grain, and you can just kill a cornerback like that. And he did. He created like 5 yards of separation with that. Yeah,
he loves to cross cornerbacks' faces. He loves to do that. He talked about it in his little film session. He's like, whenever I have a chance, if I'm running a slant, whatever route it is, if I can cross their face, they're not going to catch me. That's basically the
one thing I love about him, and it's obvious, like you were saying before we started, of why he gets hurt as much as he does. This guy never gives up on a play.
Never.
He is always looking to get, he's always trying to take it to the house. Every single play. That's what he's trying to do. You could tell.
Yep. It's really impressive to see. I mean, you never know when he's going to take it to the house. That's the best part about him. But he also takes some unnecessary hits. He uses his power too much. There's one play you're going to see shortly. I don't think I've ever seen a player of his size do something like this before. But he literally bulldozes a cornerback so badly, and he takes it to the house. And it's like plays like that at the NFL level, like you're going to get injured doing it eventually. But he's such a quick, twitchy player. Like Saquon's the same way. Like they use their agility, and eventually your knees at the NFL level, like they're just going to give out. You know what I mean? Like it's like an ACL tear waiting to happen. Obviously, you never want it to, but it's just sometimes you can't avoid it when you're that type of player.
Yeah, if you go back to that last play, though, that was a really great catch. The body control going over the shoulder like that. And, you talk about these smaller guys, right, with smaller wide receiver prospects. or at least with the larger wide receiver prospects, everyone likes to talk about the catch radius, right? And say their catch radius is huge. That was one thing with T. Higgins last year when he was coming out in the draft. His catch radius was like insane. He was just so long and lanky and flexible. He could catch the ball no matter where it was placed. But when you look at those smaller prospects, you say, okay, just because they're shorter, they're smaller, their catch radius isn't as big. Well, when you have a guy like Rondale Moore who can jump and stretch out like that and make catches, you say, okay, maybe his catch radius is pretty big. So that's a really impressive catch, and that's something that when you are evaluating wide receiver prospects, you have to look for a play like this where you see them expand their catch radius and make, really stretch out and make an impressive grab.
We know he can jump, man. We know he can jump.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about that. But he catches on the second go. So just good eye-hand coordination, like that's just what you want to see from receivers. He always has his eyes, in the right place. He's never looking too early. He's a very talented player that has a lot of the good fundamentals down, matched with just amazing athletic talent. And you get a player like this, a team. You're right, Anthony. Like a team is going to take a chance on him simply based on his potential and his ceiling. His ceiling is Tyreek level high, but his floor is really low based on the injuries. That's the problem. Like you have to figure out a way to keep him healthy. What is he doing? Why is he getting injured? That's really the question you need to be asking if you're scouting this player.
Yeah, for sure. I think that is what will keep him down draft charts potentially, is just that if he had a clear bill of health, this guy's going earlier in these drafts.
Yep. You watch what he does. He's so natural with the way he runs routes. It doesn't look telegraphed. It doesn't look like he's running a telegraphed route. He does a lot of things mid-route to open up space and to give his quarterback more opportunity to get a ball in with less tight coverage. So like here you'll see he's just running a little drag, but he sees that linebacker there coming across. And while maybe another player might go in between those two guys, giving that I think it's a safety coming down. It gives that safety opportunity to close on him. But instead he jumps inside of the linebacker who's running across, trying to cover that tight end. And he opens up so much space. It's just those little details, the little small details that you see in the film where he could easily have just gone and split those two guys and put himself in a worse position, but instead he jumps with that athleticism, those strong legs, jumps inside and gives his quarterback a great chance to pretty much throw him an easy pass where he's getting a lot of yards after the catch too.
Great catch by you there.
It's really nice.
Yeah, I mean, his playmaking ability with the ball in his hands is, insane. Like every single clip that we've watched, somebody missed a tackle. So we just got to point that out and take note of that. Like every single time someone is missing a tackle, he's just hard to bring down. He's slippery. But yeah, the spatial awareness here is really, really good. Just recognizing where the traffic is and where it's not, and then getting to the open spot on the field. That's something that I feel like the Giants wide receivers actually in particular struggled with last year. I thought oftentimes they were running into zones and running into spaces that were already occupied, and we saw that a couple times with them even running into each other, right? We had Giants receivers against, I think it was Dallas, right? Running into each other. And it's like, okay, that shouldn't be happening. The spatial awareness needs to improve. So when you see a guy coming out of college who's already got pretty good spatial awareness and makes a play like this, where he sees the defender in front of him and he's able to sidestep it and create a more open passing lane for his quarterback, that's a really good thing to see out of a college prospect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is the exact type of wide receiver that we need. I mean, ideally, you would like him to be maybe a couple of inches taller or whatever, but we don't have anybody that creates separations. We don't have guys that are big play threats. I'd love this guy in the second round. I don't think he'll be there, but I'd love him in the second round. He's the exact type of wide receiver that we need. And the other thing I'll say about him, that by comparison to Smith, what people worry about with Smith, and we pointed out when we did the film breakdown of him, as good as Smith is, the guy's an impeccable route runner. You worry about his strength off the line of scrimmage. And even though these guys are similar in stature, with a guy like this, I don't worry about that nearly as much as a guy with Smith. Yeah. Like
Devonta Smith, he's a similar weight to Rondale Moore, but he's a little bit taller.
Rondale Moore, aren't they both 175?
They're about the same weight.
Devonta Smith is 2 inches taller, right?
Devontae Smith is 4 inches taller. I think he's 6'1", right?
Yeah, so it's 3 or 4 inches taller. Right. So you just smush that down, and you have Rondale Moore, who's he's squatting, 600 pounds, and he's jumping out of the gym, and he's creating separation like this. The Giants. Okay, so here's how this would work for the Giants. we know that their pass blocking is one of the worst in the league. I don't expect it to take a significant jump in 2021. Maybe a decent jump, but not maybe they're going to be average, maybe a little bit below
league average. I'm with you. That's what you're hoping. Yeah.
You're hoping for average, but we were at the bottom of the league this year in pass protection. So that's kind of a problem. I don't expect it to be average. I expect it to be between average and below average at this point. You never know, depending on they just got a new offensive line coach. Maybe he does a better job. We'll see. But when that is the case, when the pass blocking is down, when they're not doing well, let's say an offensive lineman gets injured, think about the Kansas City Chiefs, and you have a player like Rondale Moore who can create instant separation within 5 yards of line of scrimmage. It opens up the offense so much. It helps Daniel Jones. It'll make Daniel Jones look better, because what has Daniel Jones really had to work with? Everyone's, gives up on Daniel Jones so easily because, the stats went down. He threw 24 touchdowns and 11 this past year. He had John Hilliman, running the football against the Patriots last year. He had no Saquon Barkley for most of his career so far. He's had no number one receivers. He's been working with just, a band of misfit toys.
He's got a tight end that drops every ball he throws to him.
Exactly. He has so many lackluster, playmakers on offense that you can't blame him for everything. But if you give him a player like Rondale Moore, who can open up separation in the intermediate and short yardage portions of the field, but also stretch the seams, also push the field as a deep threat because he has that 4.2 speed, you're going to maximize your quarterback too. Patrick Mahomes is an amazing quarterback, but when you have a guy like Tyreek Hill, it makes it a lot easier. You know what I mean? Like if you have Tyreek Hill compared to Darius Slayton, or you have Tyreek Hill compared to even Sterling Shepard,
Travis Kelce don't hurt either.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't hurt at all. It makes quarterbacks look a lot better, and that's the reality. But offensive line, when your offensive line is not performing well, you need guys who can create separation early on in short yardage situations, and Rondale Moore is that player.
Yeah.
I'll also say to that point, a good offensive coordinator helps a lot. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes wouldn't be what he is without Andy Reid. I believe that.
I completely agree with you on that. And, I mean, don't get me wrong. Mahomes is super talented. You put Mahomes in a lot of other situations. You put Mahomes on the Giants. Okay, he's better than Jones.
He's half the quarterback.
He ain't Pat Mahomes that we know. If he's on the Giants these last couple of years.
Right, exactly. I agree. And one thing that I'll say, I want to point out with this Rondale Moore tape, it applies to this play as well. When you think about this guy, he's 5'9" and he runs like 4.2 speed. Everybody thinks vertical threat, right? Well, yes, he's a vertical threat, but he's not running any vertical routes. We haven't seen him run anything vertical except the one comeback route, which isn't really, vertical at all. He's not really being used as a vertical threat in Purdue's offense, which is interesting to note because the Giants don't run a very vertical offense. So he still is a scheme fit for the Giants just because of the fact that he runs all these routes that aren't vertical and he's running them underneath and in the intermediate range, and he's separating and getting open. So yes, he's a scheme fit for the Giants, and you don't necessarily have to change the offense completely just because you draft Rondale Moore. But yeah, he is fast, and the vertical threat part, the threat of it is that he's so fast he can burn everybody.
That's what opens everything up.
That's what opens up, these cornerbacks are terrified. They don't want to press him. They don't want to, get beat over top, and then he runs past them for a 60-yard touchdown. They want to stay in front of him, and then that's what opens it up to him getting open underneath on every single route. And that really helps him separate. The speed helps him separate, but also the fact that this cornerback is terrified that he's just going to run past him. And then here, again, like Alex mentioned, here he's going to cross over the face of a cornerback and get wide open just because this cornerback is very scared about the idea of Rondale Moore going vertical on him. That's the part of it.
Yeah, and I also love how at the stem of the route right here, he doesn't just cross the face. He gives him a nice little stutter step to fake the go route, and then he just turns directions. Like you can't stop it. He's a man coverage beater, and he's a zone coverage beater too. Like you can't get around him. You can't stop him when he's in your face and he's going to cross over you. Because right here, you have he can make two decisions here. Let's say this is an option route. He can either go just go route, or he can cut across the middle here. If he turns on the jets, this cornerback is screwed. 4.2 speed, you're getting beat deep. Let's just say the safety back here is non-existent. And he has a decision to make go streak, or he can just cross across the field. He could either burn him, or he can do what he did right here, and he just turns him. In this cornerback, there's no cornerback that I could think of that has the nimble ability. Maybe some slot corners have that athleticism, but the offense is always going to have an advantage. The wide receiver is always an advantage because he knows the route. The cornerback does not know the route. So when you're doing this, I mean, look at this. He already has 5 yards of separation by the time the cornerback recovers and starts trying to chase him across the field. And there's nobody there. I mean, you give him that yards after catch, and he's going to make you pay every single time. And also just to the throwing lane, like he's a quarterback's best friend. because he makes it so easy for a quarterback to throw the football. Look how much space he has. Like all the quarterback has to do is throw it in front of him, and he's going to run right into it. He's so fast. He can turn on the afterburners if he needs to. And there's so much space. This is not a contested catch. Most of his catches aren't contested. You know what I mean? Like that is such a benefit in the NFL when you have a guy who can create this type of separation, and the mismatches he creates are just undeniable.
Yeah, he would be Daniel Jones' best friend. There's no doubt about it. If he could create that kind of separation for the Giants, he'd be Daniel Jones' best friend.
Exactly. Look how quickly he turns that corner too. Like the second he catches the ball. And what I like about this specifically is a lot of times you'll hear like the commentator say, like he forgot the ball, like he turned his head too quickly and he dropped the football. I love how he watches this ball into his hands and he turns his head after he secures that catch. He has so much faith in his athleticism and his speed. He catches this ball and he makes sure he gets this ball. He doesn't turn his head too early. He makes sure he gets the ball and he's gone. Like there's no way they're catching him. He's squeezing that sideline and he has that ability to tightrope the boundary, which we see with Devonta Smith too. You know, that ability to get skinny and tightrope that boundary and not run out of bounds. He can really turn on a dime and really shoot upfield without giving up too much, momentum and too much balance. It's just, he's a red zone threat, just all over the place.
Yeah, I also really liked the play design there. I thought that was really nice play design by the Purdue offense. To really, kind of scheme him open with a little bit of a rub route. And then, as soon as he catches the ball, though, it's like he shot out of a cannon. As soon as he gets it, secures it, turns around, he just accelerates. His acceleration is insane. He hits that top speed like really, really undeniably fast. So, it's pretty impressive stuff because, I don't know, the cornerback has a pretty good angle there. It looks like he should be tackled, but then he just outruns him somehow. It's, and that's a common theme with Rondale Moore, outrunning people. So
he's an angle eater. That's what I like to call him. If you have an angle on him, you'll see it. There's a couple plays in here left where he just destroys angles. Like you would think that people would be able to tackle him, but they just don't. And he has such elite speed and agility that you just can't catch him, man. It's just insane.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe him. They line him up in the slot a lot, it seems, almost exclusively on a lot of these routes, which makes sense. He's 5'9".
Well, I think it's more just because they want him to get that off-ball coverage because they know that nobody can really guard him if they have that off-ball coverage on him, right? Because when you put him in the slot, you give him an instant cushion away from the defenders, and I think that when he has that cushion, nobody can touch him. If you don't get your hands on him early in the route, you're never going to get your hands on him. So I think that's just their way of keeping him, scheming him open in that way, just putting him in the best position to succeed. But yeah, I'm happy you mentioned the slot thing because that's something that I've mentioned many, many times. So I'm not going to get too deep into it. But the Giants, everybody says that Sterling Shepard is their slot receiver. He's not. He plays on the outside. I have the stats. I've had them on Twitter for months now. So he's an outside wide receiver, and the Giants should not shy away from a guy like Rondale Moore or a guy like Jalen Waddle or anybody else who's underneath 6 foot just because they're short and play primarily in the slot. Your number one wide receiver can definitely be in the slot. I think it was Chris, you brought up a really good point last time we recorded and we discussed a wide receiver, and you mentioned the target share that wide slot receivers are getting.
Way up than from previous years.
Yes, your number one wide receiver can absolutely play in the slot and still be it doesn't need to be a big outside guy.
Juju Smith-Schuster, he's predominantly slot. He does most of his work in the slot.
Yep. A lot of them. Chris Godwin. Chris Godwin's primary slot receiver, and he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
Yep. That's a very good point.
It's a different game.
Yes.
Yep, exactly. And this is what I wanted to go back to, like what I said earlier on the video. This is another slant route. This is his favorite route. And I love the way he baits corners into going one way and then crossing their face. So like right here, the stem right there, he stutter steps to the left side. He waits until that corner takes that little step to his right, so the cornerback's right. And the second he sees him take that step, crosses his face, and it's over. Look at the separation there. Like you're not going to jam him. I don't understand why Ohio State isn't trying to jam him off the line of scrimmage, because if you're playing off ball, you have a safety behind you. Like, you have to slow him down. He's going to beat you every time if you're playing off ball. Bam.
Yeah. One-on-one, you can't stop this guy. Yep. Look at the other route. Look at the separation he creates compared to the other. I don't know if that was a tight end or a wide receiver. He's got like 5 yards. Look at that. He's right on top of him. But look at the separation that our guy creates, Rondale Moore. Look at that.
4 yards.
Night and day. Yeah.
unbelievable. So now he's playing in a Z, kind of a Z formation.
This whole game, though, like you said, actually, this might be a different opponent. They're just off the ball on him the entire game.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to contain him. They just don't want him to get downfield. So they're trying to make him make a play, and he does. Like, I mean, this one he goes back. Well, this looks like Saquon though. Tell me this doesn't look like Saquon Barkley as a wide receiver. The way he moves in the open field, the way he cuts back and makes people miss, it literally is Saquon Barkley as a receiver.
That's what it reminds me of. Watching him, he's always trying to make, and sometimes that's a negative with Barkley. Kind of like on this play, he gave up 3 yards.
Yes.
But he does remind me of that's the first thing I saw, the first couple of clips in the open field. He's kind of that type of player, it seems.
Yeah, and you know, this is the problem when you're playing off-ball coverage and you have a player like this. You never know when he's going to make something crazy happen. You see, right here, he catches this ball, and if I was, you know, I'm looking at it right now saying this play is over. You know, there's no way he's going anywhere on this play, but instead he takes this and he absorbs it and he takes off running.
Okay, well, the idea with the off-ball coverage is what they're trying to do is keep Rondale Moore in front of them, right? He catches it, and then they break down, and they all swarm around, contain, and then make a nice, like, concentrated
like this play.
But the problem is, on this play, this corner just shoots in there, and, you know, that's when you screw up. If they all just stood there and contained, and he made, like, a decent tackle attempt, you know, they would have brought him down. But he decided that he wanted to try and take Rondale's head off, and you just can't do that because he's too slippery and he's got such a low center of gravity and everything that we've mentioned. So you can't actually just dart at him because you will miss. And that's what happens here. He just, I don't know. The strategy makes sense, right, to play off ball and keep him in front of you, but the execution wasn't there on this one.
What was with that hand before the clip? Looked like a hand went across the screen. Did I see something?
Yeah, I think, yeah, it was weird. I think he's like trying to read the camera. There, whoa.
No, but you're absolutely right. I think on this play, it looks like the corner's maybe trying to break up the pass because he's coming. You know, he's trying to hit the ball, and that's why he tries to rock him like that. But you're right. You got to come with a more fundamentally sound tackle, especially against a player like this because of his strength in his lower body. He's able to absorb those hits and bounce open and create a play like this.
Yeah, it's just crappy defensive discipline too. And if you have a good defensive coordinator, Patrick Graham would kill someone if he saw his players do this. Like when he catches this ball right here, there's 4 guys, and they all stop. You get yelled at halftime because of that.
Yeah, you can't stop against him.
NFL players don't do that, man. Those plays don't happen very often. Those guys, they're getting paid. But he just shrugs off that corner. I mean, he takes a good lick on that, and he doesn't even.
It's kind of like the play before. Not the guy didn't miss nearly as bad, but the where he ghosted the guy, where you were saying you were comparing it to a ghost, where he stopped and almost turned a little bit in to avoid the full capacity of the hit. It's kind of similar move there by him on this play.
Yeah, and one thing I do want to point out as well. Look at this. Look at the separation he creates after he turns this corner here when they're chasing him. Look how much space he creates. It's actually insane. Look how like right there. He has maybe 4 yards. Look how much like ground he gains in the separation between those guys he creates. Talk about speed. They're 15, 20 yards behind him now by the time this play is over.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy.
It's unbelievable. Just a player of that magnitude. That's the ceiling, though. You know, that's what you get in athletic players like this who can do special things. You know, they go early in the first round despite injuries and stuff. If he's 100% healthy and his medicals come back clean, there's going to be a team that takes him in the first round.
Well, think back to last year. Yeah, and one thing I'll say about Daniel Jones last year with the offense, he almost had to be perfect to have a touchdown drive. Like, exactly. It would take 14, 15 plays, 5-yard catch, 7-yard catch, 8-yard catch. This is the type of guy that could give you that, and Barkley too, which is great that we're getting him back, that could have a 2-play touchdown drive. We don't have players like that on this team.
That's exactly right. You know,
yeah, that's a really good point because I've made this argument for a while. Alex, you can attest to this. I make the argument that Daniel Jones carried the Giants offense all season long.
He did.
That the offense was nothing without Daniel Jones. And we kind of saw that when Colt McCoy went in there against Seattle. We won that game, but the offense was just non-existent.
Defense,
The running game. The running game
Yeah.
was decent, but really it was Daniel Jones carrying the offense all season long. So yeah, he absolutely needs help, but a lot of that still, in my opinion, he had to carry the offense so much because the offensive scheme just I don't think it was working for him or the personnel. Jason Garrett, in my opinion, is the #1 enemy of the New York Giants right now. Like, he is their biggest problem. So, but we could do a whole film breakdown on that alone. So,
So that they added Kitchens, they gave him a higher responsibility. It came out today.
Yeah, senior offensive, right?
Senior offensive, yep.
So I wonder if that will mean that he's got more of a say in calling plays.
I think it does mean that, but we'll see.
You know what that means? That means he's going to be the offensive coordinator when Jason Garrett leaves. That's what that means.
I mean, probably, but we'll see. But I hope it just means that if he is more involved with the playbook and calling the plays, because Freddie Kitchens' his offense, when it was in Cleveland, it was a lot more vertical than what Jason Garrett is giving us now. And I want more vertical attacks. I want there to be more go routes and more opportunities for Daniel Jones to utilize his downfield accuracy, because that's the biggest strength in his game. His deep ball accuracy is the #1, trait that he has. So I would like to see more vertical shots and more of a downfield attack. And I think that Freddie Kitchens will bring that in, because if you look at what he did with Baker Mayfield in 2018 in his rookie season, there was a lot of vertical attacks, and Baker Mayfield really started to strive when they would put him on those bootleg rollouts to the left where he gets all of his body weight going into the throw, and then he can just throw, a 60-yard bomb. Maybe we could see more of that from Daniel Jones, because I definitely think he has the ability to do it and to do it accurately. I just don't think he's been put in the position. And then, of course, probably doesn't have proper personnel to pull it off either. So hopefully the Giants, get their receiver in this offseason, and then maybe Freddie Kitchens in the senior role, maybe he implements more plays like that. We can see Daniel Jones take his game to another level.
Absolutely. And just FYI, this is my favorite play of his. This is one of the most incredible plays I've seen from a prospect in a while. And a guy that's 5'9", 175 pounds should not be able to do this. What he does here defies the logic of his frame. It's why he's going to go in the first round, and also why he's injured all the time.
I didn't know he broke the tackle after. Wow.
This play is perfect. And it's aside from this power, or this guy has him wrapped. There are 3 defenders around him, 2 defenders on him, and he breaks free. But look at the angle. This safety back here has the angle to stop him, right? But as he is an angle eater, right here, this should be stopped. He should get stopped right here. But instead, he gives him a little hesitation right here. The cornerbacks or the safety's trying to get him. I think he's actually the cornerback on the other side. He gives him a little hesitation there, and then he just bursts right up the seam. You see how he turns on those jets, man? Right there. He just, bam, he's gone.
You know what that reminds me of is when the Giants had Odell Beckham Jr. and he would catch those slant routes, and then like the one against Philadelphia or the one against the Ravens, he would just see that angle, and then he would just completely go a different direction and somehow outrun. That's what that play reminded me of. But not the first part of this play. The first part of this play is actually insane, and we keep making this Saquon Barkley comparison. It actually makes a lot of sense when you watch a play like this, where he just kind of bounces off somebody, bounces through somebody, and then somehow
it looks like that Eagle. Remember the Eagle play with the screen pass in his rookie year? It's kind of looks like that a little bit. Yeah,
he actually, like, if we're doing a pro comparison for Rondale Moore, you could say Saquon Barkley. I would be like, you know what? Yeah, actually, I see that.
He runs like a running back. That's what I love about him. Like, he is a receiver that runs like Saquon Barkley. You know what I mean? Like that.
Not as big, obviously not nearly as big as Barkley, but that type of, he plays like him in the open field. Yeah.
One thing I'll say though, to maximize Rondale Moore's talents and skill set, you need a pretty creative offensive play caller. Like, you need a good offensive coordinator that knows how to get him the ball in space and put him in position to make plays like this. The Giants did not run many wide receiver screens last year, and they definitely didn't run any where there was a jet sweep motion. Like, this play does not exist in the Giants playbook, but this is a play that really only needs to exist when you have a guy like Rondale Moore. So I'm just hoping that, if the Giants do get a guy like this, they got to add plays to set him up for success, because I have not seen a play anything like this in the Giants playbook.
I'm not trying to defend Garrett, but I do think if they had Barkley in the lineup last year, you would have seen, maybe not this exact play, but you would have seen a little bit more creativity. I think when
agree.
Barkley went down, they felt like they had to completely dummy down the playbook and play mistake-free football.
I agree.
I also want to add that we saw a ton of end arounds with Sterling Shepard and Evan Ingram. This is the player you want on end arounds if you're going to do that. Sterling Shepard's pretty good at it, but Rondale Moore is great at it. He will make things happen that shouldn't be possible. If this is Sterling Shepard, he's down. He doesn't have that speed. He's down right here. This is arguably a 3-yard gain if it's Sterling Shepard. If it's Rondale Moore, not only is he making that guy miss, but he's lowering his shoulder, getting wrapped up by 2 defenders right into his chest. I mean, if you're a cornerback, man, you're probably getting up a little slow after that. That is a hit to his chest, man. You could see the impact right here. I mean, he just takes out of the chin. And, I mean, he's getting wrapped up here. He should be going down, man. But he uses that. He uses his arm as balance. That is just pure instinctual athleticism that you cannot teach at any level. You cannot teach this. You know, that will to keep going, that will to not go down, to stick your hand in the dirt and stay up and use that low center of gravity, use those legs to propel yourself forward. And instead, what he does is he uses that to actually give himself momentum. And then right here, he angles toward the corner, and then he just shoots right up that gap. Just look at it. You can see the speed. It's in slow motion, but you can still see the speed difference. Like right there, he's gone. Like he puts on the burners.
Yeah, that guy's awesome. This guy's awesome. He's gonna be a special player in the NFL if he can stay healthy. If he gets put in the right offense.
Stupid. You know. I mean, look at that angle. Look at the angle we're talking about from this player. At the NFL level, you know, he hesitates and he makes him bite just a little bit, like he's gonna cross the field on him, but instead he shoots up the seam, like you said, Odell Beckham Jr.-esque. But he's like Odell Beckham Jr. if he had Saquon Barkley's quick twitch athleticism. You know what I mean? Like that's what kind of he is. Like I can't really compare him to anybody. Some people say he's like Steve Smith Sr. You know, from the Carolina Panthers.
He was a short receiver. He was 5'9"-ish.
He's more of a bully. He's more of like a bully ball receiver, but he also has that quick twitch, like athleticism, like that ability to run really athletic slants and use different release packages and really different releases at the stem. You know, just different moves at the stem to create separation. He has a very unique blend of power, speed, athleticism, jumping ability, and eye-hand coordination. Like he doesn't drop the football very often, and he can make contested catches. He can make those type of catches. The big thing about him is he doesn't have to make contested catches because he creates so much separation.
Right.
It's just impressive, you know. So again, you know, you're going to see just, you know, playing it from the beginning for a second while we just break down what we just witnessed, but elite athleticism cannot be taught. These people are born genetically with this type of stuff. And I mean, he floats, man. He's freaking floating. It's stupid.
Yeah,
I think the Steve Smith comparison is a really good one. I actually really like that because when we look at that last clip where he just kind of ran through somebody, and then that was so Steve Smith, dude. So I actually really like that comparison.
Smith was a fighter. Yeah, you're right. He never gave up on plays either. Yeah, that is
He's very physical despite being, you know, shorter. He was very physical and made a lot of plays just like the one that we saw from Rondale Moore, that last one where he, you know, trucks through 3 defenders and somehow scores.
Yep. This kid is confident too. You know, if you hear him speak, he is confident. You know, he carries himself with that. And I think, you know, he's a competitor, man. He wants to win. And at the NFL level, you need that. You know, you need guys who are going to be a high mentality. They want to win. They're doing whatever it takes. They're working hard in the locker room. They're working hard in the gym. And it shows on the field. Like just the way he runs with the ability to never go down and stick his hand in the dirt and just keep going, keep chugging yards after catch. You know, sometimes you can't teach that mentality. You just have it. You know, and he is that kind of player. He is that type of guy that you're going to get maximum effort. And that's why he gets injured, though, because he's always giving 110%. And they might have to tame him a little bit in the NFL because, you know, he's going to get to that level. He's going to get paid, and he's going to say, I'm going to be the best freaking receiver in the league. I could see this is a guy Dave Gettleman falls in love with. You know what I mean? This is a guy that Dave Gettleman falls in love with. Maybe they trade back. They could take him at a freaking 11 at this point, man. Like, I wouldn't do it because of the injury history, but don't sell yourself short and think that the Giants wouldn't take a crazy flyer on him early on.
He's definitely a home run hitter, and he could go a lot earlier than people think. Let's put it that way. We've seen crazier things happen in drafts, and he's the type of prospect that somebody could definitely fall in love with the upside. And the upside is a top 5 wide receiver in the NFL.
And you people, if you're a top 5 receiver in the NFL, if you have that type of upside, you are going to go top 20 in the
I
draft.
agree with you. I think he will be a first-round prospect. I doubt we take him at 11, but I agree he will be a first-round prospect.
Well, let's say that the Giants took him at 11. Super huge surprise pick. What would your guys' reaction be? Would you be happy with it? How would you feel?
Depends on who's on the board still.
Yeah.
But if they took him, I mean,
I wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad.
I'd be a little. I'd be shocked. I think that's the right, but I wouldn't be like. I'd be shocked, but at the same time, I'd say to myself, "Well, they're swinging for the fences."
Yeah, I'd say the upside is there. The upside is there for a top 5, top 10 receiver in the NFL. It really just depends on him staying healthy, and I think if they feel that he is healthy right now and they can tame that, it's worth taking a shot on. However, with that being said, I also really love Jalen Waddle. I love Devonta Smith. I love Jamar Chase. I would take any of those 4 and be okay with it.
Well, let's say that the top 3 receivers, Waddle, Smith, and Chase are off the board at 11.
Yeah, that's the only way I think we would take him. All 3 of those guys are gone.
Him or Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, say that all 4 of those guys, Pitts as well, they're all gone. So the playmakers are now really who's left is Rashad Bateman and Rondale Moore.
I would take Rondale Moore.
Because if they took Rashad Bateman at 11, I'm already on the boat where
I'd be happy with that
I'm all for that. I really like Rashad Bateman. I'm a huge fan of his.
Yeah, he's
I'm actually okay with him at 11 for sure. Like I would be happy about it. Rondale Moore is a little different because he's got that injury history, makes him really risky. But I agree, they'd be swinging for the fences, and you know what? I like taking risks. I like the idea of taking risks and going for the highest ceiling possible rather than the highest floor. So personally, if they took Rondale Moore at 11, I wouldn't complain.
Yep, I'd say we're getting a player with just incredible upside. Literally Saquon Barkley, but he is a receiver. So it's different. The positional value is completely different. If you're at 11, you take Rondale Moore. You're hoping he can stay healthy. It's a huge risk, but he might be best player available. You know what I mean? Like if he didn't have an injury history, he's a top 5 player. You know what I mean? Like that's what you have to consider. Without the injury history, he's a top 5, top 10 draft pick. So are you willing to run the risk? Are you willing to throw the dice on the table? Who knows? That's yet to be seen. But he's a player. We know how much Dave Gettleman loves Saquon Barkley. This is a player he's going to look at and fall in love with. But again, Joe Judge is a big component of best ability is availability. And if you can't stay on the field, it doesn't matter to him. You know what I mean? Like that's why I probably think they wouldn't go with him at 11. But if he's there in the second round, you go for it with the play.
Oh yeah, no, second round if he's there, especially if you didn't take a wide receiver in the first, you have at it. You take your shot in the second round.
I would take him even if we did take a wide receiver in the first. I would go with the Waddle plus Rondale Moore combo.
That would be unbelievable.
I think that would be insane. I think that would be so dope.
That would leave no excuses for Daniel Jones if you got those.
Exactly.
That would leave
that's what I've been saying. Yeah. I've been saying give him all the weapons, and then after this year, no excuses. Don't give him any excuses. If somebody gets injured, then we'll have another excuse for him. Like just get a plethora of playmakers so that if somebody gets injured, he's got another guy who could step up and play. Give Daniel Jones no excuses. He has to have a good year. Give him all the tools he needs. That's what I want to see.
I'm okay with that. As long as they keep the defense intact, I'm okay with that. I'm not even saying add, huge additions, but you keep Leo and Tomlinson here. Maybe add a moderate cornerback in free agency. If you do that, I'm okay with swinging for the fences with offense in the draft.
I agree.
Yep. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this Rondale Moore film session. I know I did. This guy is an incredible talent. Even the receiver at the bottom of this play that I'm flowing right now, look how surprised he is when he sees Rondale Moore emerge from that. Look at him down here, number 12. He's like, oh, crap, he's still going. Like, that's what happens when you watch this film. You're like, holy crap, this guy is still going. He doesn't stop, and that is worth something. You can't find players like this all the time. It's a very, very unique ability. And it's worth taking a chance on. And even the quarterback's number is 11 here, so I think it might be written in the stars. But we'll see what happens here, guys. As always, thank you so much for tuning into this video, and thanks, Chris, for coming on. Next week, we'll be doing a film review on his channel. We'll figure out what player we want to do. Maybe we'll post on Twitter and see what guys you would like to see. Maybe Caleb Farley. I think we talked about him, right, Chris?
Ooh, yeah, I'd like to possibly do him. Definitely a lot of prospects on defense we could look into. And like we always say every week, we're going to jump into later round prospects too. We want to learn about guys that the Giants could be taking in the third, the fourth, and we're going to jump into all of that. But this was certainly a very exciting prospect, to say the least. Maybe the most. I would say either him or Waddle might be the 2 most exciting prospects in this year's upcoming draft in terms of early round, prospects at the wide receiver position. So Really excited to jump into more prospects with you guys. Thank you guys for having me on. And I'm looking forward to doing it again with you guys next week.
Absolutely. So if you haven't followed Chris on the Entertainah channel, please go do that. I'm sure you already do. But just in case anyone needed a reminder to do that, I shouldn't have to remind you. It's pretty awesome. So as always, guys, thank you so much. We will catch you guys on the next video.